All right. Welcome to Subtle Changes. We got my good friend Arturo Flores here. Arturo, how are you doing?
I'm doing pretty good. Thank you for the invitation. It's good to be on.
Of course. So, I kind of want to dive into this, get into the thick of it real quick. I've seen you on the national news now, probably every single time I turn on my TV.
Did I make national news?
You're on Fox News. You're on ABC, NBC.
Hopefully for good reasons.
Yeah, yeah.
That's funny.
Well, I kept texting you. I'm like, dude, you're on TV again.
Yeah, it's been a crazy month to say the least. I mean, the whole nation is watching, right? Seeing everything that's been going on. As you know, I am the mayor for the city of Huntington Park, and that's a city that historically has been known to have a very diverse and very culturally rich population. And that would obviously equates to having a large number of immigrants that are residents of the city. So naturally, if the federal government is launching mass immigration campaigns, you can't miss our city. There's no way. So
Yeah, you're in the epicenter of the whole thing.
yes,
Yeah.
yes, at least the poster child for some of the stuff that's happening. LA is a poster child for the kind of this amplification of like the city's burning down.
Right.
There's like his insurrection, which by the way there isn't. Like I think they already ordered 2,000 national
Yeah,
guard troops
yesterday.
to
Yeah.
return. So I'm glad they get the chance to go back home to their families. I don't think I don't think they were ever needed. I mean, there was like probably like two engagements where they arrested people trying to enter the federal building, and it was veterans that wanted to go get their medication or like had a medical appointment,
Mm.
and so. But anyhow, let's dive right into it.
Yeah. So what's kind of well, let's start with this. Tell people what you do and kind of your background.
Yeah. So, like I mentioned earlier, I'm the mayor for the city of Huntington Park. A little bit about my background. I didn't grow up in Huntington Park. I wasn't born in Huntington Park. I actually was born in South Central Los Angeles as a kid.
What part? Like off South Central Avenue or?
Oh no! So my family, I grew up right there on Hoover and 78th Street.
Okay.
Yeah, my mom still lives there. I have some brothers that still live there as well. But it was it was really rough neighborhood growing up. Right, this is like the 90s and the 2000s. Right.
Oh yeah.
At the I think crack. We're still dealing with that.
The crack epidemic.
100%. I mean, I grew up in an era where you go outside and you look at the windows and all the windows are gated up. Like that's just the norm. I think when I was like 10 years old, I went to go work with my grandpa to like Beverly Hills and Pacific Palisades, and I was like looking at these houses, and then I'm like, oh, they don't have any bars on them. And then I was like,
Wow.
oh wow, like that's what my family does. My family had a landscaping company, my grandpa did, and I was like, so if all these has like if my grandpa gets paid to take care of grass, like why doesn't our house have grass? It's like if you're a gardener, why doesn't our house have grass, right? It's like the old torn down truck in the front of the house.
Yeah.
But it just that was kind of my upbringing, right? Grew up a very poor community. I grew up thinking we were poor. Most of the time I was like, oh, we're poor. As it turns out, it wasn't that we were poor. It was just my dad was really stingy. So it's like, he did own, I think, 2 houses, and he had his own business as well.
Wow.
But it wasn't the best upbringing, right? Like my dad he was the first generation guy, very, very abusive in that sense of like kind of like this heavy handedness with his kids. I haven't talked to my dad in like 20 years.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, we had a falling out when I was, I think, 16. So when I was 16, I ended up getting into this huge issue at home, and I ended up running away from home, long story short. And, they brought me back, and it ended up turning to the point where I ended up getting into like this fight with my dad, and I ran away again. And they were just like, hey, you can't keep running away. And I was like, well, I'm not going home. So I ended up getting sent to a boys' home at a very young age of 16. And I stayed there until I turned 18. And then so there was a brief moment where I didn't have any like contact with any of my family, none of my siblings, none of my brothers. So it's just a very, very interesting kind of upbringing. Then I get accepted to CSUN, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so I start going to college. I don't have any support. I'm working a job at Subway. I'm working a job at as a security guard. I'm like 115 pounds all wet. And I'm working a security guard at Westfield. And I'm going to school full time. And I remember this was one day that I had paid, I paid the rent, I paid everything. I had $20 for gas. And I was just realized, like, there's no way that I'm going to make it. Like, I was like, there's no way that I'm going to be able to continue or sustain this. And so the next day, my buddy, who was a security guard as well, went to go talk to the Marines. And I was trying to talk him out of it. I said, you shouldn't join the Marine Corps. It's Bush's war for oil, blah, blah, blah. You know the spiel.
Yeah.
And I go, and the guy I remember is Staff Sergeant Salazar. He ends up talking to, my buddy, and he's like, off the back, he's like, I'm just going to tell you straight, like, you're going to hate this. You're going to hate this shit. It's going to suck. You're going to wish you never signed up. You're going to hate me, right? Like, just like straight up, like straight shooter. He's like, but when you're done with it, he's like, it's going to be one of the best things you've ever accomplished in your life. You're going to be part of one of the greatest brotherhoods in the world. And he's like, and this is going to give you the foundation to essentially do whatever you want to do in life. And so, like, son of a bitch, I'm in.
Yeah.
He wasn't even trying to recruit me. I'm like, and
you
I was,
got me.
This is in December, or like early December, and I'm like, hey, if you can get me out of here in the next 2 weeks, I'll sign up.
Wow.
And this December, January 15th is when I shipped off. So I ended up entering the Pulley program, less than a month. I had a ship date within 3 weeks.
Where'd you ship off to?
San Diego.
San Diego.
Yeah.
It's not
San
a bad
Diego.
spot to be.
And I always wanted to be, LAP. Obviously, I was like 18 at the time.
Mm-hmm.
And you had to be 19. So by the time you finish the academy, you're 21. You can have a firearm. So the deal I worked out was like, I want to be a military police officer. And so I was able to secure that position. So I went to the Marines as an MP.
Wow.
Yeah. So
You feel like that was the small change that led to really big impacts in your life? Like that moment?
I mean,
really changed the course of your life?
Signing up for the Marines
That's
in the middle
crazy.
In the middle of a war. Because you got to remember, this is Iraq. So it's
God.
raging. Right? You have every day on the news, you have the deaths are rolling in. Families are being notified that they're losing their kids.
That was at the height of it?
That's at the height of it.
Oh,
This is back in
wow.
2007, 2008.
Whoa.
Which is the height of the Iraq war.
And did you go out to Iraq?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I ended up going, finished off boot camp in San Diego. Then I ended up going to Fort Leonard Wood, Missouri for a military police school. When I was there, I actually ended up going to like this board and ended up actually winning a spot for the canine school.
Oh,
and
sweet.
I got sent to San Antonio for almost a year, San Antonio, Texas.
Mm.
And my job was to train bomb dogs.
Really?
Yeah.
I have a friend, Ryan Matthews, that trains
I think you mentioned
bomb
them
dogs. Yeah,
before.
have you ever met him?
It's a small world. So
Yeah.
if he went through the military, all of DOD, Department of Defense, does all their training in Lackland Air Force Base in San Antonio. So
Interesting.
doesn't matter if you're Air Force, Coast Guard, Army, Marine Corps, even some civilians, they'll get sent to DOD and then they'll go through the basic canine training.
Wow.
And it's a very the school is simple. It's they teach you how to handle a dog, basic commands, and then they teach you how to essentially run a dog that does attack and explosive detection. I ended up getting another spot because they did another board for more specialized like explosive detection that dealt with having the dogs like off leash, strictly like off leash, like radio. Imagine a dog with like walkie-talkies, radios, and then you're mic'd up and you're telling the dog go down the road, and now you're telling the dog, okay, now cross the road, like go right, and the dog literally is 100 meters out and crosses the road.
The dog has something attached to it so it can hear you?
Yeah. You ever seen the
vest?
Service dogs?
Yeah.
Vests with the radio pouches. And so you're controlling the dog, telling him go on the right side of the road, tell him, okay, come back this way, and you see the dog, and the whole time he's just searching.
Wow.
So it's just amazing what some of these dogs can do when you take the time to train them. So
Now, is your dog like that at home?
oh, absolutely not. 100% not. So, I came back, and I have a Belgian Mal now, and he's like, I haven't even spent any time with him. He knows how to sit and he knows how to lay down.
Okay.
And that's it. But I will, be doing some basic obedience training with him. The thing about like dogs is like the basic obedience ends up translating to other stuff, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but Belgian Mals, they have, such high energy.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So, I mean, just back to kind of the story, but so I ended up, enlisting in the Marine Corps, MP K9 guy. I did, I ended up finishing all the school. And then in 2008, I get deployed to Iraq.
Ooh.
And I'm like, hey.
Were you nervous about that?
I was like, I don't know. I don't think you guys are serious about this whole thing. Like, also,
Ooh.
you actually want me to find the bombs now. I was like, I get it, you're training the dogs. Oh, you actually want me to find them. So we deployed to Iraq. It's, 2008 into the 2009 time frame. And by the time we get there, it's pretty much like done.
It's winding down.
Yeah, Iraq's winding down. I ended up going to like different, forward operating bases, but for the most part, there was really, everything had essentially died down. It was getting to the point where it was just winding down, and the big talk was Afghanistan at that time. They were doing the pivot to Afghanistan.
Yep.
So I come back in like May or June of 2009. I end up coming back. And there's a deployment that's going out to Afghanistan. And they had this rule in the initial, onset of the war in Iraq. They would send out, soldiers and Marines for like a year, right? And then they'd come back. And then like there's a story of a guy that went and like didn't have any wind down and got deployed like 4 times. And in the 4 times, he had like 2 to 3 month breaks in those deployments, which is insane, right?
Yeah.
So they had this
policy. So they actually come home for 2 or 3 months and then go back?
Well, at that time, there's no cool down periods policy.
Oh.
And so what happened is you started getting burnout from a lot of these soldiers and Marines that were being exposed to, war, right?
Right.
To these traumas. And so they adopted a policy that if you're doing a combat deployment, when you come back, you have a wind down time where you cannot deploy back. You have to wait like 9 months or 8 months to cool down and reset, that kind of stuff. So when I got back from Iraq, they had one leaving to Afghanistan. I want to say it was like 4 months after. So I think July, August, September. It was like October, November that they had another one going to Afghanistan. So I waived my time. 4 months later, I was in Afghanistan.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Now, what was Afghanistan like compared to Iraq?
I mean, that's a completely different beast. Afghanistan was like the 2010 time frame. There's documentaries on that with like British troops. It's at the height of it.
Yep.
Taliban had national at the countrywide coordinated attacks that they carried out. I think in June of 2010.
Yep.
But it was intense. I mean, that was some war fighting, right? That was some war fighting stuff.
What were you doing the same thing that you were doing in Iraq, finding the bombs?
Yes, same thing.
Same thing.
For that one, I ended up getting attached with Second Recon for like 4 or 5 months.
Wow.
I was up in Kajaki Dam in Sangin Valley in Afghanistan, and I remember we had set up our like checkpoint across this like bend, and we ended up just digging in, and for like 3 months I lived in a hole.
A straight hole?
Yeah, like a fighting hole, like Vietnam hole. So we had like the recon guys like, different positions. I remember one time we had gotten
crazy.
Into this fire.
Where did you go to the bathroom, or like how'd you guys make your food?
It's called a shovel. It's called a shovel. I mean,
damn,
the creative ways that you'll, because after a while you get tired of digging the holes. So after a while you just walk around just kicking big rocks. And if they're loose,
shit.
If the rocks are loose, you pick up the rock there. You don't have to dig a hole. I remember one time I don't know where I was like in a different area, and I was walking around and I kicked the rock, and I picked it up and I was like, oh, that one's been used already. So put the rock back. Like somebody beat me to that one. Put the rock
God.
Back. I mean, there's stuff that happens that you don't really like. Deployment. People say like, how is Afghanistan? I say pick up the Bible and read like how it was like during the times of Jesus,
Mm-hmm.
because that's where we're at. We're in the agricultural side of it.
Mm.
You have to understand, like Iraq and Afghanistan, some of these countries were thriving communities,
Right.
right, with universities.
Right.
Um,
Tehran and
oh, you look
Yeah.
at the pictures from the 80s and the 70s, and you're
It was
like, oh, this
booming.
is beautiful.
people in
But then when you see
skirts.
the depictions of the war,
Yeah.
it's the rural areas where all that's happening. So
Right.
Americans assume that these people are living, like back in the Jesus times, and some of them are. Like some of them, it was like mud huts, right? Like the stoves, like everything, the way that they did their food is off the land. They relied heavily on the water from the river or water from the wells getting pumped out, literally hand pumped out. And so that's how I would describe my Afghanistan experience. Is like you take some Marines and you put them in the biblical times.
Damn.
But obviously we're dealing with, the Taliban, which is, it's a military force, guerrilla warfare.
Yeah.
And so you throw
Terrorist
that into
network. Yeah.
100%. I mean, there is stuff we operate in a combat environment, right? And so for us, we're soldiers, we're Marines, right? They tell us this is how you operate, these are your standard operating procedures, this is exactly how you're supposed to do what you're supposed to do and when to do it. The problem is that information also gets shared and leaked to the Taliban. So we go fight the Taliban or we go fight Al Qaeda in Iraq.
How does it get leaked?
I mean, the same way that the United States has enemies everywhere,
Mhm.
right? So if you're the enemy of my enemy, why would I not share their playbook with you? Hey, this is their playbook. Good luck.
Mm.
Anything to help you get a leg up on them, right?
Yeah.
And that's what was happening. I remember one time we found some munitions. There were, I think, Chinese munitions, right? It was Chinese ammunition that we found in Afghanistan. And so you're like, well, how'd that get there?
How'd that get there? Yeah.
It's like, okay, well, because clearly there's obviously,
China.
yeah, United States has foes
Yep.
that will help. The
Yeah.
enemy of my enemy is my friend. And so with the K9, what we started realizing, even with like the IEDs in Afghanistan, I'll give you an example. We had the MRAPs that you would just drive, and then they would start planting IEDs, and it would blow up the trucks, right? So the United States adopted this concept of the rollers, and they would attach to the front of the MRAPs.
Yep. And there's like the chains
Yeah.
that would roll.
Well, just regular tires.
Oh.
Regular tires. And what it was supposed to trigger the IED.
The IED.
So there's a lot of times for the first, 4 or 5 months, you're driving. There's essentially, it's like a sweeper, but it's essentially looks like a huge triangle with like 16 tires.
Right.
And it attaches to the front of the MRAPs. And you're driving, triggers IED, blows up, right, the device, the tire roller. All you do is unclip it. You
Install a new one.
No, put it to the side of the road, and you keep going.
Keep going.
Yeah, or the next vehicle that has the next one jumps in front.
Mm.
What they started doing is I don't know how they figured it out, but they obviously eyeballed it or whatever. They're like, okay, from the roller to the middle of the vehicle, it's about 15 feet. So what they started doing is they would take the explosives, and they would put the trigger 15 feet in front, but the explosives would be 15 feet behind.
Oh.
So the roller triggers
Oh, damn.
the trigger, but
and then the vehicle blows up.
and it hits the vehicle.
Oh, wow.
So we would have to switch it up where sometimes we would take the roller, sometimes we wouldn't take the roller, right? And it wasn't us waiting, like we have to wait for us to get, proper protocol procedures from the higher ups. And
That's crazy.
By the time that we would adopt our changes, we'd wait like 2 weeks, and then we would get the intel would come down like, oh, they're doing this. We were already on the ground seeing it, so we were adapting very
Wow.
quickly. So with the K9 guys, that was our reality all the time. Sometimes we'd have the dog on leash. Sometimes we'd have a dog on 100-foot. Sometimes no leash. Sometimes a 30-foot. And we started seeing that they were, targeting the handlers.
Mm.
So we would, find stuff that the, trigger was, on a 6-foot leash, right? 6 foot in front was the trigger, but the explosive was on the wall, waist high, aimed at if somebody, like a person.
Sure.
So it's like the exact offset of what somebody would be walking, like a dog, or what I'm saying. So it was just interesting, having to experience some of that
Ugh,
you know,
scary.
well, I mean, it really is like the, you know, this ultimate like cat and mouse kind of game, right? Of like, right, you're really trying to outwit your enemy. It's
Right.
just the stakes are a lot higher here,
Well,
right?
it's your life.
100%.
Yeah.
And you just said it, like it's your life. And I think
Yeah.
me at 19 years old, right? Iraq was not that big, but Afghanistan was. But me at 19 years old, having to come to terms and accept that there's a good chance that, you know, I'm gonna either leave here with no legs or I'm gonna die, right? Like, you,
So wild.
yeah, you just accept. You come to terms with your mortality, and it does change you. It changes you drastically.
Did you have to see a lot of your friends die and,
I did.
you know,
We did.
the harsh reality of that?
By the grace of God, none of the canine handlers that I was with, the unit, lost their lives. However, we would go out and do operations. There, you know, there's only a certain number of dogs that we can have, and you can't have dogs on every mission, right? And so there was some times where, you know, we did have to respond to like post blast assessments, and we did have to, you know, deal with, you know, seeing that, right? Like seeing like, you know, body parts and yeah, and like the post blast, like the puddles of blood, you know, seeing the medevacs of people getting picked up. I mean, war is like it's a horrible thing, right?
It is.
And so anybody that truly has fought in a war and truly has experienced its just destructiveness, not even like during the war, but I'm talking about even like after, right? The post effects of
PTSD.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, the suicide rates for
Suicide
veterans.
rates. Yep.
And I have this conversation with people all the time. I say, we get recruited by, you know, the military. You spend 3 months in basic training, or, you know, I don't know what the Army does now, but then you spend a year to 2 years training up in your field, and then you get deployed, right? So you're talking about almost like a 2 year, year and a half, 2 year indoctrination process. Then you go to 1 war or 2 wars. Some Marines I know were deployed 3-4 times. And then when you make the decision, like, okay, I'm gonna go home, like I'm done here. They say, oh, okay, well, here's a class for 4 days. Oh, and then good luck. And then there's a VA in your state. If you need anything, like, go to them.
That's it.
That's it. That's it.
No rehabilitation.
Nothing. Everything. The buck gets passed to the VA, and so for me, it's the DOD. Like the
Department
failure.
of Defense.
100%.
Yeah.
100%. The people that are failing the veterans, it's not the VA. The VA is already, you know, getting, you know, somebody that already has, if they haven't been dealing with PTSD for years, or the issues of psychological, you know, like the traumas, by the time they get to the VA, they're already, the VA is trying to play catch up.
Yeah.
When really the DOD, you know, should have a comprehensive, when somebody makes a choice or even thinks, hey, I might not stay, you know, in the military, or I might make the decision to get out of the military, there should be a comprehensive exit,
Automatic enrollment
100%.
into rehabilitation.
100%. I would even say that the moment they say I'm getting out, even if it's a year out,
Yeah.
that they should be put on, like, I call it the civilian division, right? Start using first names, let them wear civilian clothing,
Yeah.
right? Like, it just
The simple stuff.
100%.
Yeah.
100%.
I'm a huge fan of Rick Perry, or Governor Rick Perry. He's been really
Oh man,
he's been really advocating for ibogaine, for MDMA treatment. For
100%.
I'm a huge believer in that.
So Rick Perry, I have a picture, myself and Rick Perry.
He's a cool guy.
In 2007.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I don't look the same like I do now, obviously, but he was the governor of Texas at the time, and he was at the Marine Corps Ball in San Antonio, Texas. I have a picture with him. It's somewhere in my archives.
I got to meet him at the first Vets event, VETS Vets.
Yeah.
It's it was a panel of Rick Perry. It was Tim. I forget his last name, but he's a really famous book writer.
Well, the stuff you're talking about with the treatment and like this, like not just shoving pills down veterans' throats.
No, it's
That's a huge game changer. I'm very involved with this organization called the Sabo Foundation. If you guys know John Crash, he essentially, has a nonprofit that really helps out with the holistic approach to addressing PTSD. I've gone on a few retreats, wellness retreats that do sound therapy, cold plunges, hot yoga, meditation. I mean, it's been life changing, right? But the stuff that you're talking about, some of that stuff is it's illegal in certain states, right? So you have to literally leave the country.
Go to Mexico. They have Cancun.
Yes,
they have a
you
really
have to
good
go to
facility
Mexico
in
to
Cancun.
get
I actually did one down in Rosarito. I did ibogaine. I've been through quite a bit of trauma in my life, so I did it. And they hook you up to a heart monitor the whole time. They have nurses in there the whole time.
Yeah,
it's a great experience.
And so the obviously the different approaches to treating some of those traumas. And I think they even have like he has some partnerships with some partners in like Montana. Like sometimes they'll do retreats with veterans. They'll just take a group of veterans, out of the state and just do like a whole holistic, round of treatments on them. So amazing organization. I'll introduce you to John one of these days.
I would love to.
The organization's name is Sabo Foundation, and they do some amazing work, mainly out of Ventura County. But they've been.
Are they doing plant medicine, or is it just like cool plunges, yoga, breath work, sound healing?
So they do it all. The stuff that you were talking about, the ibogaine and all that stuff. That's something that the first time that I even heard that mentioned was John.
Yeah, it comes from the
was having a conversation.
Plant. Yeah.
And on top of that, he actually had a conversation with Mayor Karen Bass from the city of LA, because they were having a conversation around veterans that were homeless.
Yeah.
And almost this treatment of like veterans that have, severe post-traumatic stress.
Yep.
And that are essentially somewhat common like lost cases.
Yeah.
Where he's like, no, there's a, treatments out there that can be employed. And so I credit that foundation, for saving, countless lives, veteran lives at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the things we want to do for our charity is that what I wanted to do is start sending these veterans down to Mexico for the ibogaine treatments, because I'm just such a firm believer in it.
I mean, and so my whole thing is even like around cannabis, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like there's already scientific data studies that have proven that there are medicinal benefits to cannabis, 100%. Or they can be an alternative to, the hard stuff, right?
Yep.
And even then, the federal government still has cannabis as a class 1 drug. I mean, it's up there with, I think they just added fentanyl, which I'm not opposed to at all.
I gave a TED talk about that.
Yeah, I'm like not opposed to it.
Such a joke.
Fentanyl, like, okay,
fentanyl, yeah.
That's what I'm saying. I'm not gonna fight you on that.
Yeah,
it took you long enough.
Dead, right?
But the cannabis, I'm like, weed, really? And I think it all stems from like big tobacco, right? Like this control of big tobacco. Like, but once big tobacco is able to start, getting into some of these markets, all of a sudden it's not going to be a class 1. You can mark my words on that. So it's unfortunate seeing some of like the,
it's a control of other things too, though. It's cotton, hemp. Fibers.
I was just gonna say hemp.
Plastics, oil. So hemp is like so robust. It's you can make cars out of hemp.
The issue with hemp is just too good. If you make something clothes out of hemp, it'll last you a lifetime.
That's what I'm saying.
So it's like, why would you want to do that?
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? It's like
we want to do that, but other people.
Why would you want to build a car that's really good that you don't have to buy parts for it and keep fixing it? Like, why would you do that?
And it grows so fast. Yeah. That's the other thing. It grows like wickedly fast, and then so to manufacture it and to produce it, I mean, it would put a lot of other businesses out.
Yeah, 100%. But that's kind of, I guess that's where like like a little bit about my background on the veteran side, with the Marine Corps and with my deployments to Iraq and Afghanistan as a dog handler. The thing about me, and we talk about even what's happening now with my city, even like as a kid, I dealt with my father, who not only like had, victimized my all my brothers and sisters regarding like trauma, but it was generational. It was even some of my aunts and uncles that, he had to victimize, and me and my older brother, like, we put a stop to it, and all we started doing was just calling the cops, and reporting it.
Wow.
And it ended up
like, was it physical abuse?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
100%.
Verbal, physical.
I remember one time. I forget what it was about, and my father got a piece of hose, the thick one, and I remember my leg was bruised from my knee all the way up to my ass, just bruised, like
just whipping you with it,
as purple as your like that scarf you have.
Oh shit.
As purple.
Ooh.
But what I'm saying is, from a young kid, to be taking that stance against, I'm saying, somebody who's supposed to be protecting you.
Yeah.
And stopping that, essentially standing up to that, tyrant, and then even in the in the military, right? Like this service of others, the public service to country, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like calling out injustice, service to others, and then having all of that kind of roll into essentially my identity, right?
Yep.
Kind of the voice that I carry of like people that are afraid to say things that need to be said, or are afraid to call out stuff that is like, hey, like that's not okay, right? Like that's an injustice, like that needs to be called out, right? Or even like the hypocrisies, do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah.
And a lot of the times we have
there's a
like,
lot of politicians like that.
I was just gonna say that there's a lot of politicians that, and by the way, I hate politicians. I don't know if I told you that.
Yeah.
I can't fucking stand.
I don't like them either. Trust me.
So I told you, like, Arturo, you're a politician too. I like to think myself as a public servant. I fucking hate politicians. I hate career politicians.
Yeah.
I'll give you an example.
Gavin Newsom.
Well, I'm a lifelong Democrat, right? Don't judge me, but
no.
Yeah.
I used to be a Democrat, but after Gavin Newsom, it really changed my opinion of him.
Well, don't give Gavin too much power.
No.
Over your life choices.
No, I just, yeah. That guy.
So I consider myself a lifelong Democrat, and obviously right now you have the White House, and you have this kind of back and forth. The issue I have with my party, and I'm just be very frank, and it's not that I'm an ageist, but right now there is a huge fight going on in the House. It was over the bill, and I don't know,
the big beautiful bill.
Yeah. And I don't know if you know this, but the Democrats were short 3 Democrats.
Mm-hmm.
They're short 3 Democrats. Do you know why?
Why?
Because three Democrats died in office.
Oh.
Yeah.
They haven't been replaced
They
yet?
just did the special election in Arizona. I'm not sure how Arizona does it.
That's why the bill passed?
Well, that is why the bill passed.
Mm.
That's one reason why it passed.
Yeah.
Because if they had the 3 Democrats in office, the Republicans would have needed an additional 2 votes.
Yeah.
So, but that's besides the point. Every Democrat that passed was over 70, right? And so you start to question and you say, wait, well, Dianne Feinstein, when she passed away,
that was ridiculous.
I tell people she was hanging on with the same thread that she was on to power, is the same thread she was hanging on to her life.
Right.
And so the real people that had power over Dianne Feinstein's office was the people that were holding her hand as they were signing whatever she was signing.
Yeah.
That's who had the power.
Kind of similar to Biden.
Well, that's a whole nother thing, right? We talked about Biden's, mental capacity while he was president of the United States. We talked about Mitch McConnell.
Oh, remember when he froze on stage multiple times?
He had like
literally just froze.
So
it's like,
yeah.
Just sat there.
It was like he was
like,
rebooting.
oh,
it was like he was rebooting. Right?
He was rebooting.
So you have these, and it's both parties, right? Where you have this almost, I don't know what you call it. I don't know if it's a lack of, what's a plan where you have like you're leaving and you need to have somebody replace you.
Just a lack of planning.
Yeah, but it's like a contingency plan, or like you need to have I'll think about it. But a predecessor, right? Or
Yeah, sure.
Yeah.
Predecessor's a great word for it.
yeah, like
Right.
you need to have that. You need to build the next generation of leadership. You need to nurture them. You need to pour into them. You need
Mhm.
to essentially prepare them to step into that role, and at the same time, be ready to step down and allow for that, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that's something that we're missing the beat on. I'm telling you right now, in the U.S. Senate and in Congress, the individuals that are making the decisions that impact our lives, my life and your life and our kids, they don't live the world that they grew up in. The industries that were around when they were around do not exist anymore.
Exactly.
The America that they know does not exist anymore.
That's why there should be term limits.
100%.
You know what I mean?
100%.
Should be just term limits.
I mean, sometimes you have conversation with these folks, and then they're talking about still getting a job, a factory job, and that should be enough to pay for a mortgage, put Bobby and Susie through college, and pay 2 car notes.
Yeah.
And then your wife doesn't have to work; she can still do bridge club. That world doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Whether it was the outsourcing of jobs, whether it was inflation, the world doesn't exist anymore. So my point is this: with both parties, I mean, you have to start having the conversations about getting the next generation, younger generation, healthier generation into these positions of powers, at least, one that could relate. I do have a lot of hope for the generation that's coming into these positions of power, because I see the discourse there. Like I see that, like even myself, I'm able to have conversations with, some of my colleagues that are, on the other side of the aisle.
Mm-hmm.
Right? That are Republican. Sometimes we agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, we're at least having those conversations.
I think
right?
you're a pretty rational guy, though, compared to other people. There's a lot of people in the party that, especially the Democratic Party, and also in the Republican, but they're a subset of this ideology, right? They have this ideology of, transgender women competing in men's sports. They have all these different really radical views.
Well, I don't know if you caught the Governor Newsom just did an interview about that, and I think he might have even kind of completely switched on some of those positions that historically
he said it in a podcast.
Yes,
he said, "Oh, it's not fair."
And
but
historically, the party that never has been challenged.
Well, he's flipping because I think he understands.
Well, you know what he's doing, right?
Yeah,
he's running.
He's going to try and run for president.
He's trying. He's running for president.
I know.
He was in South Carolina doing a town hall. He's running for president. And so my thing is this.
And that scares the shit out of me.
What's good? Well, and here's my thing. Back to the career politicians, right? At some point, you cannot make your decisions on where you stand on issues based on polls, based on these polls that are essentially
or social media.
Yeah, they're social polls. They're essentially, popularity contests. If you tell the American public, this is who I am, this is what my beliefs, my views, what my character is, and then you let people vote how they're going to vote. But if you're basing it solely on the 50% plus one, meaning that not even the 50% plus one, it's the 50% plus one of the 15 or 20% that actually vote.
Right.
Right. Well, I don't know what turnout was the last election was like 8%, 9%. I mean, it was like really low. But my point is this: then at that point you just really become whatever the fodder is, whatever the popular opinion or whatever's trending,
whatever the mainstream is.
You become you literally,
yeah,
your views, your values, everything is shaped based on what is being said out there. And so
that's why I got off social media, because they can literally hack your thought process, your mind.
Are you a social, what do they call that, a pariah? Are you a social media pariah? You like don't have any social media?
I got off it like 8 months ago, and I'm a lot happier.
How productive are you now, though?
I'm a lot more productive. I'm not scanning through posts. Like, it can really affect your level of happiness and depression and your thoughts on politics and ideology. And I was listening to this podcast with Joe Rogan, and this guy that I don't know his name, but he's an expert in figuring out what Google was actually doing when you logged into Google, or he logged into Facebook because he actually worked on all these apps. And he's like, they could fix an election like that. Like they could change it like that if they wanted to. Google can. They can, like what they were doing for Democratic voters, they were sending them 10 reminders to vote, compared to a Republican. They would only send one reminder to them. So, that their social engineering is kind of what they're doing.
And you know that
providing a narrative and then disinformation to that narrative.
So all of these companies, right? Have you ever heard the term knowledge is power?
Yes.
Okay. Knowledge, especially with tech companies, every one of us, all the Americans, there's a actual like data. There's an identity,
right? A
digital identity for you,
right?
And whenever email or something, any account's connected, and you go like this or it, boom, it gets attached to you, right?
Yeah. It's social engineering. They're actually selling human emotional options to traders. So the traders will buy that. Oh, I want a black guy that is depressed, didn't like this post, right? So then they're gonna sell you something that is in lieu of that.
100%. And I think the word we're looking for is the algorithm.
Yeah.
I mean, the algorithm is really where it's at. A lot of what you're talking about is data mining. And so what happens is that there's this data mining that happens that feeds into different algorithms. Those individuals that control that data and have control of those data sets of, Clint, likes white tumblers and gold pens. Right. And then I'm like, I want to sell pens. But I don't want to buy the red ones. They cost too much. I'm gonna just buy, the gold pens.
Yeah.
You know what? This company actually can just give me data on who is more likely to buy gold pens.
Right.
And then now you have an ad popping up for you about my gold pens.
Yeah. Not only that, they know when you're more likely to buy. If you go out to a bar, they know that you're at a bar, you've been drinking, then they're going to start sending.
We really are living in a simulation.
Do you think we live in a simulation? It's wild.
It's getting to that point. But I was going to tell you, and the cleanse, the social media cleanse you're going through, I think what you're going to realize is comparison's the thief of all joy, right?
Say that again. Comparison
is the thief of all joy. Meaning you'll go and buy, a truck, a Chevy, 1500, and you'll see a post of somebody that bought the same truck but the C71 package, and you're like, oh man,
right?
That one was $20,000 more. I couldn't afford that one,
right? And
here you are with this brand new truck,
right?
But now you're like, but it's not that one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right. So you're gonna start realizing there's a lot of that is gonna go away. You're gonna be very grateful
for what I have,
for what you have.
Yeah, exactly. And particularly the people that I have in my life.
Oh, 100%.
Because there's a lot of people on social media that are not. How can I stay in touch with 1,000 people? It's just not possible, And then some of these people have 20,000, 30,000, 50,000 friends. They're not your friends, Let's get this real. Your real friends are the ones that, shoot you text late at night, hey, looking good on TV,
Those are some of the loneliest people. The one that have the 100, 200, 300,000
exactly.
followers. Some of the loneliest people.
Yeah, it's what they identify with, which feeds their ego.
100%.
Yeah.
I mean, look, the reality is this. Even in this world, if you keep a very tight-knit, I would say maybe 10 or 15 people is what, as like close friends, like
close, yeah.
You celebrate the birth of, your daughter or your son, 10 or 15 people. You do a housewarming, 10 or 15 people.
Right.
But these are people that are just locked in, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's reciprocated.
Right.
The thing about some friendships and relationships is that there are people in this world that are just takers, and they come to take. And
yep, you gotta be careful of those.
Oh, 100%. Yeah. They come to take, and
especially when you become famous or you become on TV.
I got some crazy emails.
I was gonna say, how are you managing your
my
your
15
social
minutes
media?
of fame?
Yeah, no, you've been more than 15 minutes.
Well, I mean, let's go back to it, right? Let's go back to that conversation of what's been going on, right?
Sure.
So, June 4th comes around. So first of all, a lot of people don't know this, but I was a political consultant. I did political campaigns for, I want to say, about 12 years.
You did? I didn't know that.
Yeah. So
Who'd you do them for?
I'll go through the list right now. But when I came back, so, Marine Corps, Afghanistan happens, I come back home.
Okay.
Go immediately to community college. I end up transferring to UCLA, and I got my degree in political science at UCLA. Go Bruins!
Like the Bruins.
Yeah, and while I was in school at UCLA, I was actually working at a boys' home as a youth counselor. So I got to work with a lot of troubled, at-risk youth. A lot of kids from the same communities I grew up in that had really broken homes. I mean, some of the stuff that you were reading in the case loads, it was stuff that it takes a strong person just to be able to read it. Imagine somebody who had to live it in regards to like abuse and that kind of stuff, right? Like the kids. And did that for about 2 years while I was finishing up community college, and then went to UCLA. While I was at UCLA, I actually started working as a like campaign volunteer. And one of my first campaigns that I worked on was Wendy Gruhl versus Eric Garcetti for mayor of LA.
Really?
That was one of the first ones I did. I was actually working for
Wendy.
Oh,
you were?
Yeah. We did South Central with Wendy, and it was with I want to say it was like Jefferson. It was Jefferson, and I want to say like Arlington. That's where our campaign headquarters were. And the team that I work with, it was a friend of one of my college professors. And I told him, I'll give you 10, 15 hours a week, but my only catch is that you move me so I get a full scope of the campaign work. And so it was like 4 or 5 weeks, but every week the first week I did just phone banking, right? And I got a chance to
trying to get in donations, just calling people.
Voters. So I got a chance to see, the script building, 25 phone bankers, all the phone lines. I got to see some of the technology that was being used to feed the calls to the callers, right? The queue up.
Sure.
Right? Now it's more,
it'll probably be AI driven at this point.
100%.
Yeah.
The technology is way more advanced. We're talking about, this is back in 2014, so 11 years ago.
Yeah.
And so, you have these tables, you have about 25 phone bankers that are just knocking out calls. At the end, they submit their reports, you document it, that data gets put into the system, and you're able to gauge, the messaging, people that are being supportive. So did phone banking for a week, then the next week I did canvassing, which is the people that actually go and knock face-to-face interaction with the voters.
Oh.
And then the week after that.
In South Central?
Yeah.
How was that?
Yeah.
Lots of bars?
It's really eye-opening because in South Central there's a lot of like racial dynamics, right? And you have Wendy Gruhl, who's a white woman, and Eric Garcetti, who essentially, I believe his dad he might be like, I don't know. Eric Garcetti's everything. He's like Jewish, mom's Mexican. I mean, right? Like what?
Yeah, I don't know.
His dad, I know his dad's Bill Garcetti, who's like, famous. Who's DA? He worked for the DA's office, but you have that dynamic. But Garcetti speaks Spanish.
He does,
and so people were loving that. Oh,
yeah.
I heard his speech. I saw him on Univision, so it was those dynamics. But L.A.
Did Wendy speak Spanish or no?
I don't think she did.
Oof.
I mean, she lost, but to be fair, the campaign assignment we had, which was the African American community in that area, Wendy Gruhl won that area. So our assignment for our group, for our team, and campaign work is very similar to like this kind of like game theory, right? You're with a team, you're trying to outmaneuver, out strategize the next team, and there's stuff that gets thrown in that you have to really adapt. Like, it's like an adrenaline. Yeah. And it was one of the closest things I could find to. Did you guys do
ballot harvesting?
Not at that time. At that time, it was not allowed. But it gives you like this kind of high, right? Like it's very similar to like being in war, right? Obviously, the stakes are not that high. It's either you win or lose a campaign.
Right.
But that's how I started, and I started as a volunteer. And then the next campaign cycle, they asked me to come back, and I was like, yeah, I don't think I come back as a volunteer, but they were like, well, what about if we pay you? And that's when I picked up my first contract.
That's when you got
$3,000 a month to do a field called the field lead.
Wow.
Which is pretty much the people that run the phone banks and the canvassing teams.
Wow. What made you want to go into political science in college? Why did you pick that subject out of all the subjects you could do at UCLA? Why that one?
Well, I mean, part of it was, when I was in Afghanistan, there was a time where we had got into this firefight with the Taliban. I think it was with Second Recon, and we had got pinned down for a few days by like sniper fire. And there was this one night where we even got hit with a few rockets.
Oh damn!
Right, and so I'm in this fighting hole with my dog. Her name's Gretchen, and I'm bartering with God at that point, because at this point I'm just like kind of a little bit irate that we're even out there protecting this road that leads to a dam. And I'm thinking like there's a good chance I'm probably gonna die. And I'm talking to God, and I'm like, God, if you help me get out of this one, I promise you the next time that that conversation's had about going to war or sending men and women to war, that I'll be that voice of reason, that we exhaust every diplomatic option that we had, right? And I think from that conversation, from that kind of promise to myself, is where this idea of like political science came in, right?
Right.
Of like, okay, let me go to school for political science. And then I think that's where it kind of started gearing towards this idea of like public service, politics, having a seat at the table when these conversations are being had, right?
Is that why you were so against the Marines being dispatched into Los Angeles?
So
do you have that video of him talking about that? Isn't there a video of you talking about giving a message to him?
Yeah.
Is that what that's about?
Yeah. So I think that's one of the big.
Is that where that came from?
That's one of the big ones that blew up.
We've never played a video on the TV before.
We'll figure it out.
So this is a first.
There it is.
Huntington Park Mayor Arturo Flores, who served as a Marine himself, had a message to the Marines coming into the LA County area.
I understand that the deployment of 749 Palms, and I believe the unit is 27, have been deployed to the Los Angeles area. I have a message for those Marines who are probably watching. Brothers, I myself have fought in different theaters. I fought wars. And I will tell you this, the people that you are here who have been called foreigners are not foreigners. These are Americans. And when we lifted our hands and we swore the oath to defend the Constitution and to defend this country, that oath was to the American people. It was not to a dictator. It was not to a tyrant. It was not to a president. It was to the American people.
Huh. Oh, there you are.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think the part there that I wanted to get across was, we had heard from our president about an insurrection that was happening in LA, right? And this foreign invasion, and the people that were at the time out in the streets of LA protesting, and in majority of them, I think for the most part, everybody that was out there, U.S. born citizens, right? And so there was this kind of, from what I heard, there was this messaging that was going to the Marines that, hey, we're going to go in there because LA is under attack by this foreign invasion. And so I just wanted to reiterate, like, hey, just remember, you're dealing with Americans here.
Right.
It's a lot easier to inflict violence on someone when you think they're a foreigner, when they're the other, as opposed to when you're like, these are Americans, right? Especially when some people are serving the nation, the Marines, as a service to country. And service to country is service to the American people.
Sure.
So that was the goal of that. It obviously caught fire, but the pushback was genuine. Like, it was genuine. Like, you're sending Marines to LA. I was part of the Marine Corps. I understand the training. I understand the warfighter mentality. I understand the ability of the Marines have to inflict, a certain level of violence, a certain level of death and destruction. That shit scared the fuck out of me. I was scared. I was like, what the fuck is going on? It scared me. And you already know, people from LA, the thing about Los Angeles and the people that are from LA, and I would just say America in general, right? Like Americans, like we're fighters. We don't like people coming into our country, our city, our state, trying to impose. I mean, what happened with the ranch? Remember was it the Bundy Ranch? When they're talking about not grazing cattle, people went, took up arms, stood on a fucking bridge, and had the federal government back down.
Yeah.
Right?
On horses.
We can't do that shit in L.A.
No.
You got away with that because they were white people.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? But the spirit and the core is still there, right? It's the same core beliefs as don't tread on me. The issue that I have, and I've had plenty of conversations, people say, and media has asked me, are you opposed to them doing the enforcement? And my answer is I'm not, right? I'm not. This is my initial answer. I said, I'm not. I said, I cannot, as a local mayor, stop the federal government from doing their job under the Constitution to enforce, right, immigration. I can't do that. It'll be obstruction of justice. I could be arrested. I could be charged, etc. Sure. So that's been my get up since the beginning. However, you know, what I am opposed to is like the reckless enforcement, which is kind of this haphazardness, coming in, doing stuff. You know, we'll figure it out. Taking in thousands of people, not knowing where they're going to eat.
Taking in U.S. citizens.
Well, but back to my point, right? This kind of incompetent operation of like not knowing where people are going to eat, where they're going to sleep, where they're going to shit. Are they getting their medication? There's reports we're getting that people are dying while being detained because they're not getting medication. Wow. Woman that was 5 months pregnant, was requesting medical treatment, lost her baby in custody. And so that's what I've been the biggest critic of, right? Because initially you're thinking it's just broad sweeps. Now we know that the enforcement, and this is from Tom Homan's mouth, was being done based on if you have an accent, how you look, where you're at. I mean, this is fucking crazy, right? Yeah. To say that in the United States of America, you essentially are admitting to profiling.
Yeah.
Where you're at, how you talk, how you look. The fuck?
Yeah.
Right? Like, so this came from Tom Homan, the border czar's mouth. Obviously, there's a lawsuit that just took place that issued a stay on doing that, or this kind of mass, just arbitrary enforcement. But what we are seeing, and when I have these conversations, is that some of the people are like, okay, it's getting out of hand. Like, you have American citizens that are getting wrapped up in some of this stuff. And then you have to have the question about constitutional rights that are being
exploited,
violated, trampled on. And we're not even talking about human rights. Right. We're just talking about the Constitution. I'm making a big ass deal about this. Obviously, one, because I'm Mexican, I'm Hispanic. My parents were undocumented. When they came here, they became naturalized citizens because of Reagan, right? Amnesty. That's one reason. But the other reason is, where the fuck does it stop?
Right.
If it starts with immigration, what's to stop it from it being our guns, Second Amendment, right? Rifles, pistols, high capacity, whatever you want to call it, caliber guns. What's to stop, you know what I'm saying? What's to stop it from it being freedom of speech, criticizing the government for stuff that they're doing?
Yeah, well,
like, where does it stop?
Look at what they're doing with Twitter during the Biden administration. I mean, that was craziness.
100%. It's a slippery slope. And so my thing is, if the
Thank
Trump
God
administration,
about that.
What's the saying? What's good for the goose is good for the gander. What happens if the Democratic Party takes power in 3 years, and they say what's good for the goose is good for the gander?
Right.
Right. We don't think you should have AR-15. We don't think you should be able to have this or that.
Right.
Hey, you did it with immigration, so we're going to do it with guns.
Right.
Which, by the way, I would never support that. But you understand what I'm saying, right?
Yeah.
The Second Amendment is a constitutionally protected rights. The same way that due process is, the same way that freedom of speech, freedom of the press, the same way that the protection of illegal search and seizures, or the seizure of your property, or being able to, come before, when you're being accused of something, you come before, they present what it is you're being accused of. You can defend yourself. Like, you can get, right? There's like all these protections that, to me, that's like the holy grail. Like, we have to, I don't care if you're Democrat, Republican, or I don't know. Does Elon Musk have a new party?
I don't know what's
With
going
the
on.
Tesla-crats?
That guy's melting down.
So I don't know if it's like
a bummer to see that happen.
The Tesla-crats or Democrats, whatever it is.
Yeah.
But my point is this. There has to be a foundational agreement, at least on the principles of our nation as America, right?
Right.
That's the bond that keeps us together. And so to me, that's a constitution. By the way, obviously you can change it. That's why there's amendments. That's why it's called, right? First Amendment, Second Amendment.
Sure.
These were all changes that were made based on, obviously, the will of the people at that time or the leaders of the country. So it's not that it's not inflexible, that it can't change, but it's a huge, like the threshold to do a constitutional amendment, right? It's like a super majority. I think it's really high. It's like, it's difficult to get done. And it's done that intentionally for a reason.
Right.
So that when one political party takes power, they can't just start amending this and this amendment, that amendment, right?
Right.
Because there's still some kind of in the middle, or, there's still some kind of, it's not like a super majority control of the Congress or the Senate, right? So, I mean, now we're going to like checks and balances. Now we're going into like the, Supreme Court, the executive branch, right? The judicial branch, the judicial branch, executive, and legislative, which is Congress and Senate. But my point is this. If we lose sight of what it is that the commonalities, of what is it that we agree on what the rules are, because I feel like right now we're playing a monopoly game with this administration, and they're rolling 4 dice, and they're collecting 2,000 when they pass go. And the last thing I want is that when there's a Democratic president, that they say, well, now it's our turn to roll 4 dice. Now it's our turn to collect 2,000 when we pass go.
Sure. Well, right? I feel like the Biden administration was doing that when they just had complete open borders. It's 11 million people under his administration came into the country illegally. Chinese, a ton of, interior Chinese people that are loyal to that party. You have terrorists coming into the country. You have cartel members coming into the country. You have, pretty much open drug smuggling, fentanyl.
I mean, during Obama, you had what do they call it? Right, the where they had these containers full of like, AR-15s, and they were being shipped over to Mexico.
Yep.
The Mexican government caught like, what are you guys doing?
Right.
And it's like, I think they might have been federal weapons. Like they were like weapons that were purchased by the U.S. government.
Yeah.
We and for all intents and purposes, right? When you're talking about, immigration, when you're talking about, of course, there has to be a process. I don't believe in open borders. Anybody just comes.
What do you
over.
think the process should be?
I think, and here's my take on it, just from the start. As of now, there's the big beautiful bill just passed. Right, they're reallocating billions of dollars. $45
billion to ICE.
I think it's like, but I think it's like one something. It's like one something for like, because it's not just ICE, right? You have ICE, California Border Patrol.
Yeah, it's $45 billion to all of those agencies that deal with immigration or control
but it's
the
all
border.
Hands on deck right now. So it's Custom Borders Protection, ATF, DEA, IHS, the U.S. Marshal Services. Did I say ATF already?
Yeah.
FBI. So what you're seeing now with enforcement, it's all hands on deck. It's not just CBP and IHS or Euro or ICE.
Right.
It's everybody. And so people were asking me, how do you think they were able to do it? I'm like, are you kidding me? They grabbed people that were doing corrections work, and now they're doing enforcement. They grabbed, people that because they're technically part of the agency, they can they can deputize them.
Right.
But when you say, what do you think is the pathway forward? I think the pathway forward is an amnesty 2.0 option. And I'll tell you why right now. As of now, we're so hyper-focused on immigration and the Epstein files, right? And we can talk about that if you want a little bit. But we're hyper-focused right now on immigration and Epstein. I mean, we could do a whole podcast on Epstein.
That whole thing, that's never coming. That list is never coming out.
I don't think so either.
No, it's too gnarly.
Yeah.
There's too many people on that. Everybody's on it. That was a CIA intelligence operation meant to blackmail people.
Jeffrey Epstein was, one of those folks that had access and was very wealthy. So when you're talking about even like donors, donations, I mean,
Bill Clinton.
Yeah.
Had a picture of Bill Clinton in a dress in his apartment when you walked in.
Look at
how weird is
Prince
that?
Andrew.
Prince Andrew.
I mean, you're talking about UK.
You're talking about all royalty coming down there. It was everyone's down there. It was an intelligence operation.
Yeah, but we'll talk about Epstein. But my point is this.
So Amnesty 2.0.
Amnesty 2.0. We have right now, as of now, we have countries like China. We have countries, and we're talking about international politics here, but we have other countries that are strengthening their relationship and their economic interdependency with either China, Russia, you name it. So China is one of the biggest ones, and they're really good at it, right? They build these relationships with these third world countries or countries that are developing countries. They integrate themselves into the economy, into its development, to the point that if we ever were to have any issues with that country, right, China would have to intervene or be involved because of the great investments they've made. So while we're at home worried about, Jose Padilla, which is, as you know, what they called Alex Padilla, while we're worried about Jose Padilla interrupting press conferences, while we're worried about, the people at the Home Depot that are trying to, be day laborers or industries that are being upheld by undocumented workers, the United States' foes are running circles around our country at the international stage with some of the relationship building. And before we know it, the U.S. is going to pick its head up, because right now we're looking in. We're hyper-focused on the domestic issues. By the time that we get done and we look up, we're going to say, oh, shit, what happened? And it's going to be too late. And the reason I say that is because why do we have the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth, right? Why are they involved in the immigration stuff? And I get it. Well, a border issue.
So terrorists inside domestically. You have terrorist cells.
Which for those I understand, right?
It's a big deal.
And the thing is, they should be transparent about when they catch those cells, so the public can actually see, like, look, this is the work that we're doing to protect the homeland.
I mean, they've infiltrated our universities. They've infiltrated our corporations. They steal our intellectual property. It's all happening here in the States and then getting sent back to China.
Did you ever hear about what the Chinese were doing with the farms?
Which ones?
So...
you mean buying like the farms that are next to the military industrial complexes?
Yes. Yeah. Yes.
And how does the government even allow that to happen?
And here's another thing they were doing that a lot of people aren't talking about. The Chinese would come, to a farm and buy the entire crop, right? And part of that process was they said we're going to harvest it. So they harvest the crop, but instead of just taking the crop, they take 2 to 3 feet of soil. So they do this. So you take the crop, but 2 to 3 feet of soil. So not only are they taking the crop, they're taking this nutrient-rich soil
and shipping it back to China. No.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
I mean, it's some of the
wild
stuff you sit there and you're like, why would they want 2 to 3 feet of soil? It's nutrient-rich soil, right?
Leave us with the
Able
pebbles.
to use it. Well, and
then you can't grow anything.
And so I mean, it's just.
They want us fucking dead, man. They don't like us.
I mean, we have to, but that's my point, is we're having these conversations and we're talking about immigration. We're talking about, pathways forward. And if you're going to spend billions of dollars, $54 billion, if you're going to move billions of dollars trying to remove people that are a fabric of the nation, of this country. And I'll tell you this, I don't have to justify the fact that you can exploit someone's labor to justify the fact that they have adopted, embraced American values of God, family, and country, right? I don't have to do that. I know that. I've met plenty of people. Yes, you can pick and highlight people that have been victims of the undocumented, or people that were here in the country undocumented that, committed crimes and took family members away. I'm telling you right now, and I'll tell you the story right now when I finish. But my point is this: we have to find the most effective, efficient solutions to get the country right
back on track.
Yeah, back on the assembly line, back to working, back to like taking care of business, so we can start looking at the real threats. And the real threats are not, somebody that's standing 5:36 in the morning in a Home Depot parking lot ready to work, right? That's not the greatest threat that this country has. And if anybody tells you otherwise, you're being gaslit. And I will say this, in June of 2017, right, there's an undocumented lady that was driving her car, and I think her husband was chasing her or something, and I think the surveillance footage showed that she was on her phone. So I don't know if she was talking to her husband. Her husband was in a car behind her. They might have been, she might have just picked up the car from the car wash or just bought it. I don't know. But they're playing cat and mouse, flying down the street in South Central LA. Ugh. The lady ends up hitting, right? There's a gentleman that was crossing the street. The lady fucking hits him. She's on her phone. She's like changing lanes. She hits him. Guy goes flying fucking 17, 18 feet. Destroys like the whole front of the car. Lady stays. It's not a hit and run. She stays. And then people come out, and she killed somebody. She's undocumented, right? Undocumented, driving, distracted, kills somebody. And I'll tell you like this: the guy that she killed was my grandfather.
What?
Yeah. And I was in my mom's house, and I heard the impact.
Oh, I'm so sorry, man.
And I ran to the corner.
Holy shit.
And at first I'm thinking, oh, fuck, she must have hit a fucking dog. And I look at the person that's on the floor, and my grandfather had a watch that I had gifted him.
Oh, my God.
It was a black watch with a black leather strap. And I'm looking, and I'm like, oh, fuck. And I'm like, that's Grandpa. And I run across the street. I take my shirt off. The doctor said that, and we went to the hospital and all that, but the doctor's like, when he talked to the family, said there was nothing we could do. Yeah. He had broken ribs, he had a broken collarbone. Like, the impact was so severe, so traumatic that
brain damage probably.
No, they essentially brought him in, but they essentially were pretty much like, by the time we got to him, this is at the hospital, he was already dead. And so to me, it's like combat veteran, all this medical training. I mean, I did everything we could. Put him in the recovery position, right? Did the full sweeps, was talking to him. I didn't want to do any chest compressions.
When did this happen?
78th and Hoover, corner of my house.
No, but when?
2017. It was June 12th.
Jeez.
Yeah. I graduated from UCLA June 25th, 2 weeks after that.
He died.
2 weeks after he died. So you could imagine, like, what do you celebrate? Right? And I'll tell you this, even with that story of this whole concept of undocumented people committing crimes and even with that, and me being a personal victim, like, my grandfather died in my arms, right? Like, there's no doubt about that. Like, when they put him on the stretcher and I saw him leave, I was like, there's no coming back from that. I will still tell you that I still hold my beliefs in regards to individuals that are in this country in search for a better life and happen to be undocumented. Like, that does not change my views on that, on the acknowledgement of their humanity, on the acknowledgement of the embracing of those values. What I described was a tragic accident. And my family went to her court date 3 months after that, and the only thing they were charging her was driving with no license and no insurance.
That's it?
That's it. That's it. Yeah.
That's crazy. Did you want to see her get charged with
something
more? They
later changed it to vehicular manslaughter because we literally were telling the DA's office or city attorney, we're like, hey, like, we went and got videos of her speeding. We went and did all this. So they changed it. But it was this huge snafu. Like, they fucked that up, 6 ways from Sunday.
Jeez.
And, all my family showed up, and, we're hearing that it's a no insurance, no, And we're fucking pissed. We're like, she killed our grandfather, and you mean to tell us that you no insurance, no driver's license? And then the court's like scrambling. They set a new court date. They updated the charges. Ultimately, what ended up happening is that she took a plea for bodily harm with a vehicle. She didn't serve any time in jail.
What?
I think they gave her like probation.
You think that's a problem?
And they gave her time served. Yeah, but that stems from just more like
George Gascon's
assembly line justice. Yeah.
Yeah.
This was 2017. I don't know if George was still in. Maybe it was Jackie Lacey. I think it was Jackie Lacey. But it was that's a systemic issue on assembly line justice. Obviously, they the woman had kids and they weighed that heavily. But my point is that there's people that take the trauma of these victims and they weaponize it, right, to like attack and go after undocumented or whatever. Those individuals should be accountable to the full extent of the law. But even then, why would you take a victim's pain, a family's pain, and weaponize it to advance a political agenda? Like, to me, that's disgusting. Right? And there's been people that have already told the other side, like, can you stop using my daughter's name? Like, stop.
They're using your daughter's name?
No. I'm saying there's people that have had daughters, family members that have lost their lives at the hands of undocumented criminals.
Right.
And the family has came out and said, can you stop using, their name? And
it gets just in so much pain.
But it gets ignored.
Yeah. Well.
And so to me, it's like, you know what I'm saying? Like, it gets ignored. Like, the family, the dad is saying, stop using my child's death to advance this. And
advance the political.
It happened with President Trump. And during his State of the Union, he still mentioned that person's significant other. And it's like, what the fuck? Like, is that the world we're living in?
Yeah.
So.
Pretty much.
But
Amnesty 2.0.
That's where I'm at with it.
Yeah.
I think we advocate for Amnesty 2.0. We figure out how we get people that are here, living here with families, with businesses, with families that they, that they've raised, communities that they've been a part of. And
I think if you're paying taxes,
100%.
I think if you're working a legitimate job, like you're not marking exempt on your paycheck, going to a cash placing spot, and using someone's fake social security. You got to get everyone in on the system to begin with. I'll just also charge them a fine for coming here illegally too, like some debt, attach some debt to it.
I generally think that the issue that we have with immigration is a civil issue. I think it's a civil matter between the government and whoever's coming into the country or is here without permission. I understand that they try to inject criminality into it because it's a lot easier for you to beat the shit out of someone and pepper spray them and pick them up off the street if you say that they're criminals and they are committed crimes, as opposed to
a factory worker.
Yeah, no, it's supposed to like saying it was like an infraction, like, I was telling somebody like somebody got picked up and he has a record. What's his record? Well, he has unpaid parking tickets.
Right.
Like,
right. Yeah.
It's unpaid parking tickets.
It's not a criminal.
But he has a record. He has a criminal record. You're like,
no.
For what? Yeah. He didn't pay his parking tickets.
Or he didn't show up to court. Didn't he have a warrant?
Some of the records of some of, my brothers, like, you'd be like, deport those motherfuckers. So I'm like, and they're U.S. born, American citizens. But that's besides the point, right? You have to understand, like, everybody, you cannot do a one-size-fits-all into some of these issues, social issues that are very complex, because you're going to run into what's happening with the one gentleman in Santa Ana who was cutting the grass, a gardener.
Yep.
And then they jumped out on him, started chasing him down. The guy's freaking out, getting pepper sprayed. Doesn't know what the fuck's going on. Doesn't understand English. Doesn't know who the fuck's attacking him. Doesn't know who's trying to, detain him. And it turns out that he has, 3 sons, right, that are in the Marine Corps that took an oath to the country to defend the Constitution. One of them was a veteran. The other 2 active duty.
Wow.
I mean, could you imagine being a Marine in the chow hall and you see something like that taking place? You're eating your breakfast and then you have buddies around you. They're like, "That's right, fuck yeah." And you're like, "Dude, that's my fucking
That's my dad." Yeah.
Yeah. Oh fuck.
Oh shit.
Never mind.
Yeah.
But that's the thing is there is the dehumanization of it makes stuff like that okay.
Well, I think that what they're, I mean, this is my personal opinion, but I think that they're trying to deport as many of those 11 million people that came in here illegally through the Biden administration.
But it's not 11 million, like, to say that 11 million people came in during Biden over a 3 to 4 year period.
4 year period, yeah.
Because 11 million is the total population of undocumented in the nation.
No, it's more than that.
What do you think is the number for?
I think it's got to be at least double or triple that.
You think so?
Yeah.
Of the ones that aren't accounted for?
Look at Southern California, man. There's so many Hispanic people.
But do you really think? Well, Hispanics.
Also in Texas,
But you have to remember, California, Texas, is all used to be Mexico.
Yeah, but they started shipping them to the swing vote states, is what they were doing. They were shipping them to swing vote states, giving them
undocumented.
Undocumented.
Yeah.
They're giving them hotel rooms. I mean, it was pretty ludicrous, right? They're actually trying to shift a forever Democratic vote, and so I think what Trump's trying to do is get that out of there so that it doesn't swing back.
Well, what Trump was trying to do recently, as of yesterday, was have Texas come up with 5 congressional seats by way of gerrymandering. I read that too. Yeah, and I'm like, I think they're doing the part that you do behind closed doors out loud, which still doesn't make it legal. It's still it's still illegal to gerrymander. But my point is this. I think Newsom responded and said, I guess California should look at this, doing the same thing. I mean, I would say that that's a wrong approach as well, right? If you see some of by the way, remember how I talked about those 3 Democrats that passed away?
Sure.
Okay, one of those Democrats' district, if you go look at it, it's a gerrymandered district.
It is.
I mean, it looks like a little kid took a marker and like swiveled and like it's wild. I was like, this is a district. But the stuff that happens is pretty wild. But my point is this: I think regardless of where we are on, some of these issues, right? Immigration, at the end of the day, and I have these conversations with my friends. We have to have those tough conversations, but you have to remember there's also a bigger picture. And, what is the question you have to beg? What is it that we actually have in common? I understand you're documented, you're not undocumented, you're here. But if you really sit down with a group of people, let's say you sit down with a group of 15, 20 people, and you just start talking about your family, you start talking about you wanting to have kids, you start talking about what you'd want the type of world to live in. And I was having a conversation with my friend. They said, you're the mayor of Huntington Park. Like, why is it that you're involved in public service? Why is it that you do what you do? I said, I have a daughter. I said, I want one day for me to be able to, my daughter to be able to tell me, Dad, I'm going to go on a run. And for me to be able to say, okay, baby, don't take too long, and be comfortable knowing that she's in my city.
She's safe.
100%.
Yeah.
And I said, and if you have that conversation with anybody that's a parent, I don't think you're going to have anybody that's a parent telling you that that's not what we want.
Right.
Right? So we allow, and I say allow because we do allow some of these organizations, the systems to come in and drive that wedge. And we forget about the community part of it. In my community, I have Republicans. I have Democrats. In my community, I have people that are undocumented, people that are documented. In my community, I have people that disagree with what I'm saying, right? They still are part of my community. They still are my neighbors. My neighbor's Wi-Fi is I love Trump. You think if somebody tries to break into his house, yeah, I'm not going to defend him or his family?
Right.
And, I believe in the Second Amendment. So, I want to call myself a gun nut, but I was in the Marine Corps, right? I believe in the Second Amendment. I believe in,
sure,
let's say the king and the castle. Like, the castle's your home. Anybody tries to, violate that, you have every right to defend, your family, your home. I believe in all of that.
Yeah.
I mean, ICCW.
Sure.
Right? So my point is this, that just because I have someone that I love Trump. Oh, you should call Trump. No, like, they're part of my community. And that's what I think a lot of people are forgetting is there's the national conversations, the that rhetoric,
right,
that seeks to drive those divides, seeking to push people to vote and act a certain way, but don't lose sight of the community. Don't lose sight of, you're part of a business and you have 7 other businesses. You take care of each other. I don't care what your political beliefs are.
Yeah, and I tip my hat to you for that. It's like, I know that you texted me. I was like, hey, texted you, hey, I see you on Fox News again, and how are you doing? And you text me back a photo, like ice blasted off, blew a door off a resident and smashed their window.
And I went and talked to the guy, like, and I'm like, hey, like, what cartel are you a part of? Who are you? Like, are you part of the Sinaloa cartel? Like, who are you? And the guy's like, no, we got into a car accident with them in Bell. I don't know if you saw the craziness that happened in Bell.
No.
So in the city of Bell, there was an immigration enforcement that was taking place. One of the trucks tried to stop a black Jeep, and I think they assumed that the guy was undocumented. And there's a fender bender, like an accident happened. The truck, they put the truck in reverse and then like back into the truck, and it ended up lifting the truck off the rear axles, and it got stuck on the Jeep's hook on the passenger side.
Oh shit!
So they couldn't get it unstuck. And so by the time that usually they're doing spot raids, you come 5-10 minutes, we're out, let's roll. They had to stay there because the trucks were stuck. The community came out. And the community came out, I'm talking about in hundreds of people came out from different communities. And they like, it was crazy. They were breaking windows, slashing tires. I mean, tear gas is getting deployed. It was straight madness and chaos. The family in the Jeep, they were just heading home. So they put in a claim for their Jeep that was damaged. And a few days after that, 7:30 in the morning, door gets blown off.
Whoa.
Drone gets shot in through the window. Flashbangs get deployed.
What?
Yeah. It's Jenny. Jenny is the only one that's home. Her boyfriend George had left for work. Jenny and her 6-year-old and her 1-year-old are the only ones in the house. They're laying down in the hallway. She has her babies in the ground. She's on top of them when the door gets blown off.
Wow.
Yeah.
So what's the future look like for you?
Well, let me finish the story with the family.
Yeah.
So
sorry, we had a camera difficulty.
So the family puts in a claim. Then, the next day, as you saw some of the videos, they blow the door off. And I went and talked to George, and I'm like, what's going on? And he told me, like, all I did was put in a claim to get my Jeep fixed.
Wow.
And then their official statement was, we don't comment on official, ongoing investigations. But if anybody wants to interfere with Border Patrol activities, just know this is what's going to happen to you.
Wow.
And I was like, what the... And I was like, okay, this is retaliation. This is like
it's a lot
targeting.
Of
I mean, it's bad. And at the end of it, George and Jenny, they're both U.S.-born American citizens. So they literally had racially profiled George because he looked undocumented. And they were trying to make a detention. That's nuts. George didn't open the door when they were trying to, get into the Jeep because he had his 1-year-old in the back. And they were trying to break the window.
Wow.
I wouldn't have opened the door either. I'm sorry. But go
ahead. I was just going to say, I think it's awesome that you as a mayor went there and replaced their door for them. And then,
the neighbors asked,
windows.
Can you take a video? And I'm like, no, like, yeah, but you're fixing the door. And I said, but you know I did it.
Yeah.
I told neighbor, you saw me out here, the mayor for the city, replacing the door, fixing it.
That's.
I said that's all that matters.
You're doing a great job.
Yeah. And by the way, we also did have another. So I was talking to a few friends, and we had some other folks that stepped up and fixed a window as well.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Cool.
And so I thought that was beautiful to see. Not just myself, but to see community come out and say, how can we help this family?
Yeah.
And it goes back to what I was saying. Regardless of whatever's happening, take out you disconnected yourself from social media, and what that did is now your relationships with people at work. You know what I'm saying? Now you're like, okay, who works here?
Right.
Now with your neighbors.
Right.
Now it's who's my neighbors?
Right. So true.
Right? You're like, who are you?
Actually become a lot better friends with my neighbors.
That's what I'm trying to tell you. You're like, I need friends. Let me go take the trash can at the same time. Oh, hey, neighbor. Just want to introduce myself. But when the digital relationships get cut off, you start seeking the physical
relationships. Couldn't agree more.
To you got to fill that void. And so my point is this. That's why I stress it. My point from earlier is that at the end of the day, you have to be able to identify when someone's trying to manipulate, when someone's trying to peddle and sell you bullshit, and be able to call it out. Like, you should be as offended by someone trying to, manipulate you into treating people a certain way or acting a certain way to a certain demographic, that should be, you should be as offended, right?
Right.
As if someone were trying to, I mean, I don't even want to get biblical, but you understand the point that I'm trying to say, right?
Of course.
It's at the end of it, when it's all said and done, when the news channels and all, they're not covering anymore, we're going to be left with our communities, and we're going to be left with the pieces of healing and picking that up and figuring out how we move forward. Everything that's going on, we still have a city to run. We still have to worry about the trash getting picked up, having clean water, making school's about to start. Right? We have to do all those back to school drives, the backpacks and all that stuff. That doesn't stop. Business does not stop because of what's going on.
Right.
But what my question is, if we're spending all this time worried about this domestic issue, and there are some international implications, obviously, because what you talked about, right?
Terrorist cells.
There's reports of cartels actually having agreements or pulling people, right?
Yeah.
You have to deal with all that, but I think we're losing the big picture on America's true role when it comes to our role at the national level, at the global level. So there's certain stuff that, I think we should be paying attention to and investing, our dollars in addressing. But then there's stuff that is like, I don't think that's worth $45 billion or moving that amount of money into that, right? When it could easily be solved with the stroke of a pen. Ronald Reagan did it. He was, a Republican president. And so it's been done before. It's not like it's something that is new or untested. Yeah. But it's stuff that we have to explore. But I just wanted to, take a moment to say thank you for having me on.
Thanks for coming on.
I hold you and Jose Baca, the Baca family, I hold you guys in high regards when it comes to the work that you guys do and when it comes to your guys' involvement just with the community, regional involvement, right? Mm-hmm. I don't want to underscore that. You guys have a regional involvement. And some of the relationships you guys have been able to build with different elected officials, and I'm not just talking about I'm talking about Republican, Democrats, Independents. That speaks volumes as to your guys' character and the integrity that you guys bring, right? And so I'm a strong believer that when you find good people, it's easier to find a wife or a husband than it is to find a good person. So when you find a good person, you keep those people in your life, you pour into them, you cherish that, right? Because those are the people that are the lifelong friends when it's all said and done. When the cameras turn off and the lights turn on, those are the people you want to be dealing with. So I hope that us as a country, we can, start focusing on what really matters, right? And kind of just go back and remind ourselves of what were those values of what it means to be America or be in search of the American dream. And I really don't understand the vilification of somebody wanting to come into the country and be part of this project. Right? Like America within of itself is a democratic project. It's something that, we're a young nation. We're still figuring out as we go along. And by the grace of God, we've been able to do some amazing things and contribute, right? America has done some amazing contributions to science, to the world, to medicine. COVID-19, look at what happened when we had that global pandemic, right? The United States of America and other nations, but we had vaccines, right? That we generated and that the world needed, right? And so to me, that's the role of our country. Like, that's our role, is to be that global leader, to step in when people need help, right? To operate from a point of like that moral high ground. And I think the stuff that we've seen happen with the constitutional rights that people have, it really eroded at that. And it really took away that one thing that we were always able to say as America, is that you're not going to just get randomly picked up off the street. if you're ever accused of something, you're gonna have due process, right? And then you're gonna get a fair shake at things. And we're able to always be critical of Russia, right? You see that Russia, the basketball player, got arrested for like a little bit of weed.
No weed pen, yeah.
I'm gonna give you 55 years or whatever crazy
Right.
is, 2 double.
That's all politics.
But we're like, what is going on here, right?
Yeah.
And I get it. But historically, America has done that quietly, off the record, off the books.
Off the books, yeah.
Not
suppress
publicly.
the news.
100%.
Yeah.
And this time I was like, oh, we're entering that era,
Yeah.
right? And historically, when it was done privately, it was because it was highly sensitive. That could be damaging to national security. That could be damaging to the reputation of the nation.
Yeah.
So we don't want anybody to find out that somebody came into the country, did this and this, and then, right? Just pick them up. You know, let's put them over here. Let's call whoever they belong to. And
Yeah.
we have one of your guys. Can you give us ours back?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? But so that's kind of where I'm coming from that viewpoint of like this kind of, well, I would say like an angle of like being really concerned, but also a little disappointed with some of the stuff that has been allowed to happen. And it's been allowed to happen by some of our leaders.
Yeah.
Right. That's
Yeah.
the part that's been disappointing.
Yeah.
And from both sides.
Both sides. I was
Yeah.
going to say the Biden administration, you know, with COVID, I know you mentioned COVID, but there were so many restrictions of freedoms that they imposed on us, particularly the healthcare workers that were forced to take the vaccine when they didn't want to take it. Like, you shouldn't be forced to have to put something in your body that you don't want. That's
or that
just,
you don't know what it is.
it's just a personal freedom, right? Yeah. And you don't know what it is.
You don't know what it is.
You know, the capital markets came and made a really quick vaccine, which I think helped some people, but I think it might have done a lot more damage than
I mean, a lot of
people
the
personally.
the stuff around the vaccine stuff, we still have to look and analyze all that data, because some people argue that it wasn't really the vaccines, it was just herd immunity, that from people catching COVID that we just built.
Yeah, we got herd immunity. Right.
You know, from
It's
doing
been done
that
like that for thousands of years.
That's what I'm saying. Doing that for 3 years, or COVID was here for, I mean, it's still here.
Yeah.
COVID has not left, by the way. But for 3 years of like, you know, catching COVID and, you know, recovering and then catching it again and recovering,
Right.
That it was almost like,
Yeah.
you know, flu-like.
So you had that, and then now you have the Trump administration, which are, arresting people based on the color of their skin. Doesn't matter if you're a U.S. citizen or not. We've had it personally affect us. You know, at my business, I asked one of our recruiters. I do staffing and recruiting, but one guy got raided at a hotel. The whole hotel got raided, picked them all up, and he was living out of his car, but we got him a job, and he was kind of down on his luck.
He was a veteran, right?
Yeah, he was. I think he was a veteran.
Army vet.
Yeah, he got him a job for like a maintenance technician job, staying at the hotel, getting ready to go to start his first day at work tomorrow, and got picked up in the raid, detained for 2 days, impounded his car, didn't have any money to get his car back, so now he has no car, and he lost his job, and he's a U.S. citizen. That just sucks. They can't be doing that, you know?
Yeah.
It was really sad. I was really pissed off when I heard that.
And I think the question is like how do you account for that damage, right? I really don't.
Someone's life,
Yeah.
you know, someone's life.
Yeah, I don't think there's a way to, you know, account for it or rectify that damage.
Right.
You're gonna have to give the guy another car.
Yeah,
or
exactly.
find him, you know, suitable employment that was comparable to that. So I think I think this is probably the first of many conversations we're gonna have.
Yeah.
My understanding is that with the bill that passed, there's gonna be an influx of funding, increase in operations. I believe they're gonna get more violent. They're gonna get more bold, and like I said, you know, my fear is that, you know, the leaders of my party will say what's good for the goose is good for the gander, and now it's our turn, and the issue we want to talk about is gun rights and those rifles, right, or think of any topic that is important to, you know, Americans who are conservative.
Yeah, voting.
That's a big one.
That's a huge one.
Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. But thank you so much for having me. Like
of course.
I said, want to thank you and you know, this is great. I love that you have this, you know, space, and I look forward to seeing some of the episodes before this and after this that you roll out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll love to have you on again, and let's see what the future holds, you know. So
that's awesome.
I appreciate it. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks. Hey, don't forget, like, follow, and subscribe.
Yeah. Well, how can people get a hold of you?
Yeah.
You know, if they live in the city of Huntington Park, how can they message you?
My Instagram is Mayor Art Flores. My email is very simple. It's aflores@hpca.gov. I mean, don't waste your time sending me hate mail, because I mean, that usually goes unread. But if you have like a legit, like, you know, you want to reach out to inquire, you're more than welcome to. But make sure you put this on YouTube, right?
Yeah, this will be going on YouTube.
Yeah, so make sure you subscribe. Make sure you hit that notification button right at the bottom, and then and be on the lookout for more episodes.
Cool.
Of subtle changes.
Yeah. Well, thanks, Arturo. I appreciate you. All right. Thanks so much for watching. Bye, everybody.